My counterpart, Sheila Polk, the Yavapai County Attorney, is I'm proud to be able to call her a colleague for a number of years, and she's going to go a little bit into the law enforcement issues surrounding this and some of the problems with it. But let me just say this. The Maricopa County Attorney's Office, we receive about 75,000 felonies every single year. And I can tell you that those issues that are surrounding the illicit drugs are a great majority of the criminal activity that we have to prosecute. And the side matters with it, whether it's child abuse, domestic violence. What do illicit drugs basically do? I mean, what is the fundamental problem with them? It impacts judgment. It impacts one's ability to act rationally during sometimes difficult situations. We do not need to be compounding this problem anymore. We need to protect our children. We need to protect the family unit. We do not need to tear apart the family unit. No longer do I ever want to hear a mother or a father come to me and say, Rick, what do I do? My kid's on drugs. I love my child. We were so close. Now we can't even talk to one another. This is about America and its fundamental values, and that's the family. We must keep us together. So with that said, I am very honored to be able to introduce my colleague, a very extraordinary county attorney, Sheila Polk from Yavapai County.
Good afternoon. I'm Sheila Polk, Yavapai County Attorney, and I'm also the co-chair of the Yavapai County Countywide Substance Abuse Coalition. I am involved in substance abuse and crime issues at the street level every single day. And I'm also involved in substance abuse issues from the prevention angle as co-chair of our coalition. I'm also here, by the way, as the president of the County Attorney and Sheriff's Association. I think you all know that all 15 elected county attorneys and all 15 elected sheriffs unanimously came out in opposition to Prop 203, the first time in my memory when we all unanimously agreed on any one particular issue. I'm also personally very grateful to our 4 congressmen for joining us here today. And I hope that voters are paying attention and realizing that this issue is not just a local issue, but it's also a federal issue. And I hope the voters are paying attention and noticing that all of Arizona's leaders, both local, state, and federal, are uniting in our opposition to Proposition 203. And we are uniting because this is a serious issue with serious implications for Arizona. It is truly frightening to me that this state that shares a border with Mexico, where the drug cartels are even more aggressive, more violent, and more cold-blooded than ever, would even think about voting in favor of Proposition 203, and thereby creating an even greater market and appetite for marijuana in this state. And it will. Proponents of Proposition 203 say it is highly regulated. It is not. It has as many loopholes as similar laws in other states, and arguably more. If Proposition 203 were truly only about giving marijuana to the seriously ill, none of us would be standing up here today fighting so hard to defeat it. This proposed law, in fact, allows consumers to get medical marijuana cards to treat, quote, chronic pain or suffering. In other states with that same provision, on average, less than 4% of medical marijuana card holders are seriously ill. Upwards of 95% obtain their cards to treat chronic pain, and most of them are between the ages of 17 and 40. The State Department of Health Services, DHS, estimates that in Arizona, by the year 2013, we will have 66,000 medical marijuana card holders if this proposition passes. And that number does not include the thousands of consumers out there who will surely use marijuana recreationally when it becomes otherwise legal and otherwise more available. There is no question that if Proposition 203 passes, we will see an increase in crime, just as other states have. It's simple. People who are high do stupid criminal things. The 2010 Arizona Arrestee Report by the Arizona State University Center for Violence Prevention once again confirms that the most common drugs of choice for those arrested and booked into the Maricopa County Jail for any crime are marijuana and alcohol. The Aaron Report, that's the acronym for that arrestee report I just referenced. The Aaron Report, for those of you who are not familiar with it, provides ongoing information about crime, drug use, and characteristics of individuals arrested and booked into the Maricopa County Jail. And it is vital information that we must absolutely consider informing policy in this state. The report for 2009 shows the following. 69% of arrestees arrested and booked into the Maricopa County Jail during the testing period, booked for any offense. Across the board, 63% of arrestees used alcohol and 43% used marijuana within the days immediately preceding their arrest. Urine analysis of those the actual urine analysis of those incarcerated shows 39% testing positive for marijuana, 44% of arrestees diagnosed with a mental illness tested positive for marijuana, and 58% of arrestees who otherwise were victims of a crime involving a gun had a positive UA test for marijuana. The connection between marijuana and crime year after year is substantiated through the ASU Aaron Report, and it's available on their website if anybody wants further information there. There is no question that this initiative will result in widespread marijuana usage and in an increase in crime, period. This is not a tightly regulated scheme to dispense marijuana as medicine to the seriously ill. The opposite is true. The dispensaries are inspected only after notice. A felon can run a dispensary. A felon can become a caregiver, and a felon can become a home grower. There is no inspection of home growers or of co-ops in your neighborhood where marijuana will be harvested, cultivated, and dispensed. The restrictions in this initiative are in fact on the rest of us. The cardholders get protected status under this initiative. It's on page 27 of the initiative, and the rest of us literally get scammed. It is an entitlement program for consumers of marijuana, and increased crime, increased cost to taxpayers, and decrease in quality of life for the rest of us. It's interesting, by the way, that on the November ballot is also Proposition 107, which eliminates preferential treatment, and yet on page 27 of Proposition 203, it creates a protected status for medical marijuana cardholders. This initiative has no protection for landlords or for property owners, and homes in other states under similar initiatives have become hazardous waste dumps. This initiative has no protection for employers. No more drug-free workplace policies. No more zero tolerance for driving with marijuana metabolites in your system. Literally, a school bus driver can consume marijuana and the next day drive our kids to school. I encourage everyone to look at the states that have medical marijuana laws and their attempts to regain quality of life after the devastation that these laws have caused. Why would Arizona choose to go down that same path? The answer is that the backers of this initiative are scamming the voters into believing that we won't have the same problems as the other states. We will. And as a border state, we face an even more serious threat as we become an even more attractive market for the drug cartels. In Yavapai County, I mentioned our Substance Abuse Coalition. We have been successful in proactively addressing the connection between substance abuse and crime through a variety of strategies. And we have brought the number of felonies in Yavapai County down by 30% between the year 2007 and the year 2009. In fact, I have been able to eliminate 7 prosecutor positions from my budget in the last 3 years because of the work of our coalition in addressing substance abuse, both proactively and from the prosecution perspective. We have focused much of our efforts with success on teens and marijuana because we know that teens who smoke pot do not do well in school and are more likely to engage in risky criminal behavior. This initiative clearly rolls back all the progress we've made in Yavapai County and all the progress that's been made across the state addressing substance abuse. Arizona's leaders we're here. We are opposed from the local, the state, and the federal level to Proposition 203. I urge the voters not to be fooled by this initiative and to please vote no. And at this point, we will take questions.
Can you give specifics? 14 other states have legalized marijuana, and you say it would be devastating, but can you give an exact statistic or an example of how it was devastating to the states?
There are so many different ways in terms of quality of life that it has harmed other states. You can start just by Googling California and dispensaries. Google the Mendocino County and look at what's called the Emerald Triangle, which has become the mecca for the pot farmers. And what's happening there in particular is that people are intentionally renting a home that from the street looks like a nice home. And when law enforcement walks in the door, literally the entire place has been stripped and has become a marijuana grow with plants that are averaging about 16 feet in height. There are stories after stories. The police chiefs for California put out a 2009 white paper talking about the connection between crime and dispensaries, but there's just a plethora of stories. I have personal stories. I have a sister or a cousin-in-law who lives up in the Emerald Triangle, she's a landlord. She has an off-site house. Before she knew it, her renters had stripped her place. They had turned it into a pot farm, and it took her more than $8,000 to get them evicted and then to restore the property into being usable again.